Hey, what's up? So when I think of hippies, I think of seeded bread. And when I think of seed bread, I think of something that's dry, kind of punishing to eat, and a loaf of bread that's really proud of how much fiber it has. But the core idea here is excellent. Seeds in bread can taste very good. You just got to do it the right way. So today we're going to use sourdough and seeds to make something that's delicious and also very nutritious. It's going to be luxurious. It's going to be super dope. So let's make one. So to get started, I need to feed my sourdough starter. At 9 p.m. the evening before I want to mix my dough, I'm going to combine 25 grams of active ripe sourdough starter, 50 grams of all-purpose flour, and 50 grams of room temperature water. I'm going to stir everything up here to combine, then I'm going to throw a lid on it and let it ferment on my counter overnight, or roughly 12 hours. Now, it's the next day around 9 a.m. and my sourdough starter is ripe, and now it's time to build the leaven for this dough. To do that, I'm going to measure 50 grams of this 86 to 90 degree water, 100 grams of just about all the starter we fed last night. There should be roughly 25 grams of that starter left behind in this container. I'm going to set that aside to keep perpetuating my future starter. Next, I'm going to top this off with 50 grams of all-purpose flour, stir everything up to combine, and pop a lid on it yet again. Some people would consider this a superfluous extra feeding, but I prefer a more controlled starter in my bread. So I make a custom leaven for each dough, and I call that leaven the refreshment feeding. The refreshment feeding is 50% cultured flour or sourdough starter and 50% fresh water and fresh flour. I want that population of yeast and bacteria from our overnight sourdough build to quickly culture all that fresh flour and water. And now we've got something that's young and hungry, and it's going to breathe plenty of life into any dough we mix it into. Right after we fed the refreshment, we're going to mix the AUTOLYSE. And for more info on AUTOLYSE, check out my tartine whole wheat video. I go pretty deep on it. I will link to that below. Now, to mix this AUTOLYSE first, we need to measure the temperature of our water. 86 degrees is what we're looking for. Now, into the bowl, we're going to measure 780 grams of that warm water, 600 grams of all-purpose flour, and 400 grams of whole wheat flour. Now, with a sturdy spoon, I'm going to stir everything up to combine while trying not to get sticky flour all over the place. This is going to take about a minute to come together with a spoon, and from there, I'm going to switch over to a wet hand and continue to mix this to make sure the flours are getting properly incorporated. If you don't wet your hand really well before mixing something like this, you're probably going to have a decent amount of dough stuck in your arm hair, and some arm hair will get into the dough. It's a classic bummer. You're going to be bumming. The move that I'm doing to mix this here is what I would call a pincer method. I'm basically lobster clawing the dough with my whole hand to combine everything. Once that's all mixed and there's no large dry clumps of flour to work out, we're going to wrap this up with plastic wrap, set a 2-hour timer, and I'm going to put it in a warm place, in this case on top of my refrigerator. I'm going to put the refreshment up there too so it can fully ripen. 2 hours later, the refreshment is bubbly, it's very sweet smelling, and it's clearly active. Check out the bubbles in there, dude. If you're unsure of your starter's ripeness, I recommend grabbing some warm water to test your refreshment. If it floats, it's ready to rip. If it does not, let that refreshment rise for a little bit longer. So to finish this mix of the dough, I'm going to scoop in all of that refreshment starter, and now with a wet hand, I'm going to repeat that pincer move from before to incorporate this refreshment into the dough. Like I've said a few times on this channel, this pinch and rotate move kind of replicates an orbital mixer in a pro level bakery. And for me, it's just the most efficient way of mixing hydrated flours together, which can be kind of hard, honestly. After that's mostly mixed together, now we're going to sprinkle 20 grams of salt across the top of the dough, then pour 50 grams of additional 86 degree water on top of that. Back to pinching and turning, and then pinch and then turn. If you're wondering why we added the salt after the refreshment feeding, it's because salt can damage sourdough starter. If it were to go directly on top of it, it could really slow down or even kill this starter. So we added in after the fact. We also add in 50 grams of additional water because that's going to help the salt dissolve, and it's also going to give us a wetter, more extensible dough that's going to stay wet even when we add a bunch of dry, thirsty seeds later on. Once this is mixed fully, I want to check my dough temp to make sure the dough is going to rise at the speed I want it to. So I'm going to put this into a warm place, in this case on top of my refrigerator. I'm going to let that do its thing for 3 to 4 hours, but I am going to come back in 30 minutes to fold in some strength. Next, I'm going to preheat my oven to 325 degrees and grab a little baby sheet tray, and onto that measure 100 grams of raw pumpkin seeds, 100 grams of raw sunflower seeds, 50 grams of sesame seeds, 25 grams of hemp seeds, and 25 grams of flax seeds. Now I'm going to fluff these up to evenly mix them, then roast them in a 325 degree oven until the seeds have taken on a little bit of color and they're just starting to get toasty. After 25 minutes, we've got golden, delicious seeds, and it turns out the hippies were right all along. Seeds are delicious. Sorry, hippies. You guys are cool. After 30 minutes of fermentation on this dough, we need to give it its first set of strength building folds. To do that, grab a chunk of dough with a wet hand, stretch it out till you meet resistance, and then fold it over the opposing side of the bowl. I'm gonna repeat that 5 to 6 times all the way around the bowl, and then I like to tuck the dough up under itself to create a nice, strong, taut top. I'm gonna do that 6 to 8 times, and there we go. We got a nice, shiny, taut, folded, strong dough. Now we're gonna cover that with some plastic wrap and continue to ferment it for 30 more minutes. At the 60-minute mark, or 30 minutes after that first fold, we're gonna do fold 2. That's mostly gonna be a repeat of the first fold, except for now we have a bunch of seeds that we need to mix in. These seeds are sharp and they're gonna impede gluten development, so adding them in later in the process as opposed to in the front of the mix is gonna help keep this dough stronger and more well put together. Once all these seeds are in the bowl, they're probably gonna need a little bit of additional help, so I'm gonna mix that by hand a little bit. And don't worry too much, the pre-shaping and final shaping of these loaves is gonna help spread these seeds out even more, and that looks good for now. We're gonna cover this with wrap one more time, then put it back in its warm place to finish the bulk fermentation, and that's gonna be about for 2 to 2.5 more hours. So at the 3.5 hour mark, my dough looks good to go. It's risen by about 30 to 40% from where we started, and it has a little bit of buoyancy to it. Now I'm gonna flip this whole thing out of the bowl and onto my lightly floured work surface. Next, I'm gonna divide the bulk of this dough into 2 roughly even sized pieces. We're looking for about 1,200 grams each, and I grabbed my gram scale here just to confirm that. Now the next move is to pre-shape, and all I'm doing there is just using my bench scraper to push the dough and using my right hand to pull, lift, and tuck it back under. If you're a little bit short on strength in the bulk ferment, now is a good time to make up some of that strength by really rounding these hard and getting them nice and tightened. Once we've got 2 nice taut balls here, we're gonna set that aside and let that rest on the counter for at least 15 minutes. This is gonna make our shaping much easier in a second. While those rest, I'm gonna flour my proofing baskets. I'm currently and kind of permanently in a batard phase because batards are an optimal bread shape in my opinion. So I'm gonna flour 2 batard baskets. Feel free to use round baskets and bake boules if that's what you're into. Now, it's time to do our final shape. Since this is a seeded bread, I'm gonna also cover the outside with seeds. Any blend of non-toasted seeds here will work well, but I prefer sesame seeds. The seed coating setup is very simple. It's a baby sheet tray with a wet towel and then a plate with a liberal layer of untoasted sesame seeds. This is how we did it at Union Loafers when I was a bread baker, and this basically whole recipe is an homage to their seeded bread. Check that place out. I will link it down in the description. Ted Wilson, I'm here. You can text me anytime you want. The shaping is pretty standard high hydration sourdough stuff. Flour the dough and then your work surface, flip the dough onto that work surface, flour it side down, and then grab the bottom edge closest to you. Pull it out a few inches and then fold it up about halfway envelope style. Then grab the sides, pull them out 3 to 4 inches, and then fold those over each other like this. Now grab the top edge or the part furthest from you, pull it out, and then fold it towards you over the top. Then we're gonna crisscross from the top to bottom like this, crisscross, crisscross. And by the way, make sure that these folds you're making are sticking really well as you go. Then we're gonna roll this thing from the bottom to the top. I'm doing a little bit of rolling and tucking and rolling and tucking, and this is gonna give me a nice taut little wiener dog looking tube that has a ton of tension and will definitely hold itself up tough in the oven. Shaping is arguably one of the most important steps, and it's pretty hard to teach with words. The only way to learn it is really through observation and repetition in my experience, so just take a look at this. I really hope this helps. Once this loaf is shaped, I'm gonna grab the bottom seam and then roll it back and forth on the wet towel and then back and forth on the sesame seeds. There should be plenty of stickage of seeds here. As you can see, there's sesame all over this thing, and once it's rolled, it goes right into a floured proofing basket or a couche or a banneton or whatever you've got. Once both loaves are shaped and rolled in sesame, we're gonna cover them with a tea towel and let them proof on the counter for as few as 60 minutes or as long as 2 hours. My dough was 76 degrees and fermenting in a 74-degree house, so it took about 90 minutes total. Anyways, after that 90 minutes, I'm gonna give them a poke, and as you can see, they hold that poke for just a second and then they pop right back out. That's a really well-proofed bread in my opinion. So now it's time to go into the fridge for a cold rise overnight. The next morning, it's time to bake these loaves, and for that, I'm gonna preheat my oven to 500 degrees Fahrenheit and load in my Challenger bread pan. This Challenger pan is what allows me to bake the batard shape. I was living that boule life for years with my round proofing baskets and Dutch ovens and all that, and you guys know what that's about, and I loved it, but I'm a batard boy now and forever. If you don't have a Challenger, a 14.5-inch pizza stone with a big ass stainless steel bowl works really well for batards. After 30 minutes of preheating, I'm gonna hit this pan with a little bit of semolina, then I'm gonna flip out my first loaf. And now is the time where we score it with a lame. Scoring a loaf with seeds can be a little bit tricky, as I remembered, and I hesitated here. I was thinking maybe I'd do a double slash, and I just biffed it. But I did get the score right on the second loaf, but just don't hesitate on this stuff. The razor knows when you're scared. Now, the lid's gonna go back onto this Challenger, and then I'm gonna load it back into my oven carefully because this thing's super heavy. And then I'm gonna turn the oven down to 480 degrees and bake it for 18 minutes. After that 18 minutes, I'm gonna pull it out, the lid comes off, and as you can see, this loaf got excellent oven spring for a loaf with so much whole grain and so many seeds in it. That's thanks to proper fermentation and also that refreshed young leaven that we went through the trouble of making earlier. Okay, now back into the oven. This time I'm gonna turn the oven down to 460 degrees and bake for an additional 25 minutes. After 45 minutes total, we have a super pretty seeded bread. The dark toasted sesame on the outside combines with that mild acidity of all those nutty seeds on the inside, and it just makes an amazing, fun, super flavorful loaf. It's a perfect vehicle for avocado toast that all the young people are into these days. That rustic, roasty nuttiness in the bread also provides an almost peanut buttery flavor, and that's a sick complement to butter and jam, by the way. A really fun way to eat this bread. It's a dignified, naturally fermented 3D version of seed bread. I'm really excited. Let's eat this thing. Before I get out of here, I just want to say, if you guys support this channel on Ko-fi, thank you so much. And if you guys want to learn more about Ko-fi, I will throw the link down in the description. If you liked the video, please give it a like. Don't forget to hit subscribe and definitely turn on the bell for notifications. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for sticking around, and we'll see you next time.